Let's read from the fourth one. Kaya Vangmana Karyamuttamam Pujanam Japa Chintanam Kramat Jagada Ishadhi Yukta Sevanam Ashtamurti Bhrad Deva Pujanam Uttamastavad Uchamantataha Chittajam Japa Dhyanamuttamam Ajyadharaya Srodasa Samam Sarala Chintanam Viralatav Param Bheda Bhavanat Sohamityasau Bhavanabhita Pavani Mata Bhavashunya Sat Bhavasusthidihi Bhavana Balat Bhaktiruttama Hristale Mana Swasthada Kriya Hristale Mana Swasthada Kriya Bhakti Yoga Bodhascha Nishchidam Hristale Mana Swasthada Kriya Bhakti Yoga Bodhascha Nishchidam. So the 10th sloga is Maharshi's definition of enlightenment. Maharshi's definition of spiritual realization. He defines spiritual realization, enlightenment as Hristale Manaha Swasthada. That's the phrase used there. Hristale Manaha Swasthada. Mind, Manaha, Swasthada, abiding, finding repose, final repose, in Hristale, in the heart. The heart is not the physical heart. Heart means your essential nature, your true essential nature, your true consciousness. When the mind comes to abide in your essential nature, like a bee coming to abide in the flower and putting out its proboscis and drinking deep from the depth of the flower. That's the kind of experience which an enlightened person has. Hristale Manaha Swastha. So that phrase is very important phrase there. Hristale Manaha Swastha. So Maharishi uses the word Hrit or the heart to indicate truth. Truth or the consciousness or the true self, blissful true self is indicated by the word heart. Hrut. You don't we say sometimes the heart of the problem, the heart of the issue, the heart of the nation, meaning the essential a sense of the being. So Hristale Manaha Swastada. At this point the mind is wandering all over. And a wandering mind is a restless mind. Like a honeybee wandering all over. Finally it settles in the flower. Similarly, you come to abide. Emotionally and intellectually, you come to abide. That's why the proboscis, two proboscis of the bee. And he says, all the four paths discussed in the Indian wisdom tradition, the path of devotion, the path of works, the path of contemplation, and the path of psychic discipline, yoga. All these paths finally lead you to that state of self-abidance. So you are collapsing into your own truth. So far you have been wandering all over. Finally you collapse and come to abide in your own inner truth. So Hristale Manaha Swastada. And I like you to remember that definition. It will clarify and a lot of your other questions and answers, that you are coming to abide in yourself. By these four paths, finally, that is the state. So leading to that state, so here he in a 10th sloka, I jump into 10th sloka because it is very exciting. Hristale Manaha Swastada, that is a definition. See, volumes of literature is reduced into one half a sentence there. Half a sentence. Hristale Manaha Swastada. And Nischidam means it is determined by wise men. It is determined by wise men. This as the ultimate spiritual goal, ultimate refuge, coming to collapse into your own inner being, consciousness. And there are four paths. What are the four paths? So Swastada is an Ayurvedic term also. In Ayurveda they call it Swasthyam. For health, the Sanskrit word is Swasthyam. Swasthya means Swasmin Staha Swastaha Tasya Bhavam Swasthim. When you are abiding in yourself, it is called Swasthada. And that state is called Swasthya. Abiding in it. That's the healthiest state. So whether it is Ayurvedic Swasthada or enlightened Swasthada, meaning is the same. A healthy person is one who is drawing his inspiration from within himself. And so there are four paths. What are the four paths? Kriya. Kriya means Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga means realizing God through your works, dedicated works. Realizing in your inner bliss through your dedicated work. That is Karma Yoga. Then Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is cultivating your emotions, purifying and expanding your emotions from lust to love to compassion. One can purify. From lust, when you purify, it becomes love. Again purified. Purification means expansion. When you expand your area of concern, then it becomes compassion, passion for all. So that is the ultimate state of bhakti. Then yoga. Yoga is Patanjali's yoga or Raja Yoga. Yoga is basically managing your thoughts. What you call vritti nirodha. Vritti nirodha. Vritti is your thoughts. Your cognitive states called vritti. And these cognitive states, the states of mind. And managing that is called yoga by various postures, pranayama and all that. And then bodham. Bodha is reflection, contemplation, meditation, watching. So all these paths finally lead you to a state of self-abidance, Swastale Manaha So it's a simple definition. People ask, what is enlightenment? How do you define it? Are you enlightened? When did you get enlightenment? Can you transfer enlightenment? All these questions. So here is a very beautiful definition of enlightenment. So earlier we have seen the devotee is trying to relate himself to the higher power, universal power. It's called God. So first he starts with he creates an image of God, a visual image or a verbal image. That visual and verbal image doesn't fully encompass God, but represents God. So then he starts offering a flower or whatever. Then slowly his idea of God expands. It becomes Ashtamurti. Then Sarvamurti, Vishwarupa. Vishwa means the universe, Rupa means form. So it expanded that way. So physically he did a few things like offering flower, namaskaram, etc., prostration. Mentally he started chanting mantras and praising God. And verbally and mentally he started thinking, feeling and thinking for God. And so it says one is superior to the other. Uttamastavad, sixth sloka. Uttamastavad uchamandada chittajam jaba. So earlier Maharshi said physical doing is, in the initial stages is okay, but then it becomes mental bhavana, attitude. More than physically doing, it becomes a mental attitude. And it becomes a continuous experience. The earlier you feel God's presence only in the puja room or the chapel, temple. Now he sees his presence everywhere. Yatra yatra manoyadi tatra yatra samadaya. Wherever the mind is, there you see the Lord. And so that mental state itself is divided into several stages. Mental state is, first is stavam, you sing his glory loudly. Sometimes you find people sitting and loudly praying and then crying and then shouting and screaming and talking in tongues, various tongues. It's just a loud, vociferous expression of your ecstasy and joy of remembering and being with and relating to God. You feel a certain overflowingness of energy. So uttamam. So initially they make a lot of noise. Then it becomes subtle. So uttama stavam. Stava means loud singing. Loud proclamation. Go all around the world, the Christianity, going all around the world and proclaiming the glory of the Lord as though nobody knows about it. So you go to the east, west and north and there spread the good tidings. Go around. So it's one stage of when you enjoy that, you want to share it, you want to tell everybody. Blissfully ignorant of the fact that everybody knows it. Others also know it, but then you have to go and say, do you know this? So person who really knows, he keeps quiet. Then you think he does not know. So you have to shout and scream and from the rooftops. So that is the uttama stavam. So stava means loud singing of the Lord. Like a Vishnu Sahasranama. Thousands of names. That vociferous, extroverted expression of your ecstasy. You cannot help it. When you are overwhelmed with that feeling of belonging to something profound and higher, you feel the embrace from the higher, then you have to say it. You have to proclaim and pronounce and uttamam. Then after some time, uttamastavat uccha mandadam, it become mandam. It become a whisper. Now you have no need to shout and scream. You don't have to say it again and again. Isn't it? Initial state of marriage, you say I love you, I love you. Later you don't say that. You don't say I love you, you know it, that you don't love me. So it's all pretty clear. So initially you may say it, then you don't have to announce it. So first is Uchchastavam, loud singing. Then it is Mandam, in whispers. Ucha, Manda, then Chittajam, then not even whispering. It is a state, it's a constant state of being. When we chant learning the mantras, we take up a mantra and keep on chanting it, or slokas, keep on saying it again and again and again and again. Then after some time you don't have to say it, you are in it, you are that. So he says from the loud to Uchchastavam to Mandadaha in whispers, then Chittajam. Chittajam means mental, just a mental state. You abide in that state without any verbal exposition. That's where you become silent. So Chittajam. Then Chittajam Jabam. So that Chittajam is a japa. Japa means mental repetitions. You are mental, you are in a state of mental ecstasy. It's not verbalized. So you become very subtle in your. So Uttamastavad Uchchamantadaha Chittajam Jabam, and then Dhyanam. Then you are in a meditative state. Meditative state means there is no noise at all. It is very, very subtle. It's a noiseless experience. So Chittajam Jaba, Dhyanam Uttamam. So one is superior than the other. The previous, the succeeding, the later one is superior to the previous one. What is the later one? Dhyanam, meditation. What is the previous one? Chittajam Jabam, mental repetition. And how in which all ways you can do that? Loud and whisper and then mental. Thus, a stage comes, you are soaked in this experience of belonging to a higher power. So you never miss that thereafter. Soaked in that. You have no doubt about it. It is only when you have doubt you have to proclaim and declare. There is no doubt at all. You are very quietly enjoying that. So Uttamastavad Uchchamandada Chittajam Jaba Dhyanam Uttamam. Is from the grosser to the subtler and subtler and subtler and to total silence. So the best mantra is silence, he said. It can be a long mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Dhanvantare Amritala Shastra, long mantras. Or Gade Gade Param Gade, those kind of mantras. But or Om Shivoham Shivoham. But best mantra is what? No mantra. Just silence. Silence is the best mantra. But it's very difficult to practice silence. So therefore you make all these noises. The initial noisings, good noise is better than bad noise. Good words are better than bad. But ultimately it is just a quiet state. The example generally I get it is, the aircraft. First on the runway, slowly it moves, then it picks up speed, and then it goes very fast, and then it lifts its nose and its tail, and then it gains height, it goes up, it climbs up and up and up, and when it gains 30,000 feet elevation, then it just glides across. Just quietly. It disappears into the outer space. That is not visible at all. Similarly, the mind is in a state of quiet abidance. Chittajam Japa Dhyanamuttam. So it's the feeling of belonging to the higher. It is a feeling of being accepted. It's a feeling of being taken care of. It's a feeling of being empowered. It's a feeling of being rooted, whichever way you want to put it. So that feeling, when you lose that feeling, there is fear. When you are in that feeling, there is no fear. So this state is expressed as fearlessness. Like a child sitting in the lap of its mother. No fear. Mother is afraid. Somebody may come, something may happen, but child has no fear at all. Because it is ensconced in his mother's lap. So you feel that feeling, fearlessness. And this state of belonging is explained by Maharshi in the next beautiful sloka. Ajyadharaya srodasa samam sarala chintanam viraladas param. It is like Ajyadhara. Ajya means clarified butter. Clarified butter. Ghee. In Hindi we call it ghee, clarified. That is very viscous, very thick. And when you pour ghee, the clarified butter, from one vessel to another vessel, it flows without any break, unbroken flow. It doesn't break, unlike water. Water can break, drop by drop. But ghee flows without any break, unbroken, continuous. So Ajyadhara or Srodas. Srodas means a river. A river is a continuous flow. Srodas, effortless. So Ajyadhara indicates continuity, unbroken continuity. And river shows the flow of the river is effortless. So effortlessly and continuously, that attitude remains. Whether you offer a flower or not, whether you prostrate or not, whether you sing the glory or not, regardless of all these efforts, you are in that state all the time. It's a state of continuous bliss, continuous joy. So Ajyadharaya Srodasasamam, meaning the mind abides, mind remembers, never forgets. Mind feels the belonging, it never loses it. There is no fear in the mind. Ajyadharaya Srodasasamam Sarala Chintanam. Sarala means continuous, effortless and continuous. Chintanam. Chintana means abidance. Effortless, continuous abidance. Is better than viralada. Param means better. Param, viraladav param. It is better than, virala means spasmodic or broken. So instead of broken or spasmodic or occasional feeling or that ecstasy, now you gain a continuous, unbroken, noiseless, effortless feeling. Saralam and viralam. Virala means sometime you get it. When you sit in meditation or when you are in a temple, when you are with your guru, you are in that ecstasy. Then you make a lot of noise and then go back, have a cup of tea and you forget everything. So here it is not like that. Whether you are in cup of tea or not, you are always in that state. That state is never lost. You are always in that. So in spite of doing everything, seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, discussing, you are always in that state. So, Sarala Chintanam Viralada Paramajyadharaya Srodasasamam Sarala Chintanam. Two examples are given by Indian rishis. One is a person who is in love. Other is a mother with a little baby. Wherever the mother is, whatever the mother is doing, her mind is always focused on the baby. She never forgets. If she forgets, she's scared. The moment she forgets, she feels as though she lost a breath. She can never forget. She may be doing a lot of things. She may be pounding paddy. She may be making chapatis. She may be cooking. She may be cleaning or vessels or whatever. Maybe doing various things. But all the time her mind is on the baby. Or when you are in love, wherever you are working, driving, thinking, flying, all the time you are texting, isn't it? Texting is all the time you are all the time in that memory. You never forget it. Similarly here, it's a continuous experience. Saralam and Viralam. What a beautiful word, Saralam and Viralam. Sarala means effortless, continuous. Virala means with effort and discontinuous. So, but initially it is with effort and discontinuous. You cannot help it. You need some props, but now you don't need any prop at all. So at this point you look like an ordinary person, as though you don't do any spiritual thing. Earlier you were using spiritual marks, various vibhudis and this, that. Now you don't need any external spiritual marks also, because you are established in that. So, let's read it. Ajyadharaya srodasa samam sarala chintanam viralatah param bheda bhavanat sohamityasau bhavanabhida pavani mata. So this is the state of Shivoham state. We call it Shivoham state. I belong to Shiva. Or I belong to Christ. I belong to God. I belong to that higher power. I belong to that universal mother. So that's called Namashivaya. Namashivaya means salutation to Shiva. That's the state. So there is a duality. I and God, I and Shiva, I and Christ. The duality is there. So Maharshi says, Bheda Bhavanat. That is Bheda means duality, separation. Still there is a separation. Still you are clinging on to that like a little monkey to his mother monkey. Clinging. Because you are there's a continuity, but still you are afraid you may fall off. So he says, Bheda Bhavana. So there is a subtle separation. I and thou. That separation is there. Bheda Bhavana. But there is a higher state, he says. Though this clinging, this belonging is permanent and effortless, still there is an underlying fear that I may fall off. That fear is there. So that's called Bheda Bhavana, state of duality. Bheda means dual, separation. Bhavana means feeling. So still you feel I am separate, but still I am clinging. Bheda Bhavanat. So from Namashivaya state, I belong to Shiva state, you have to graduate into I am Shiva state. That is called Bheda Bhavanat. Saha aham idi asau bhavana abhida bhavana. So instead of saying that I belong to Shiva, I belong to Christ, now you suddenly turn around and you say that I am Shiva, I am Christ. So that's called, asau means this. Abhida bhavana, non-separate feeling. Bhavana means feeling or experience. What is that content of that non-separate experience? Saha aham idi. The God I worship and I the worshipper are the same. There is no difference at all. Isn't it? That's how you define love. The more you love, the private spaces collapse. And there is complete interaction of energies. There is no privacy then. If there is an element of privacy, that means there is separation. So there is complete union. And you feel, I am Saha. Saha means Saha Ishvaraha, the God. Aham, I am. Idi asau abhida, that's called abhida bhavana. The earlier one was bhida bhavana. This is abhida, non-separate feeling. So here, even that little trace of fear disappears. Because there is total oneness. Now there is no separation. God and you have coalesced into explosion of ecstasy, you can say. Very ecstatic experience. So Abhida Bhavana, that is called Abhida Bhavana. Maharshi says, Pavani Mada, that is the most purifying and ennobling experience. Pavanam. Pavanam means very purifying experience. So Bhava Shunya, so Bheda Bhavana, Sohamityaso, Bhavana Abhida, Pavani Mada. Then again a stage comes where even in this state there is little effort involved. A trace of the ego remains. Then over a period of time, Bhavana Balad, because of the strength of your continuous practice. See, now the question of continuity comes. You have to practice. It's not instantly happening. But then it is instant because it's an enjoyable experience. Every pade, every step is enjoyable. Not a burden. So, a stage comes, bhavana bhalad. By this repeated practice, what happens? Bhava shunyam, a completely effort-free. No effort at all. Sadbhava susthidihi. You come to abide in the sadbhavam. Sadbhava means your true nature. Sad means your true nature. Bhava means nature. So you come to abide susthidihi. Susthidihi means firm abidance in your essential. Bhakti Uttama. Now we have climbed the highest pinnacle of devotion. Uttama Bhakti, which is called compassion. So love for God is love for all. That's called compassion. So you come to reach that stage, he says. So reach the mountain top now. Now you can come down and go up another way. One session is over. You reach the mountain top. Uttama bhava shunya sadbhava susthidihi bhavana balad bhakti uttama. So bhavana balad, because of the strength and the capability you gained by all these practices, you climb the highest summit of effortless self-abidance, which is called bhakti. So ultimately bhakta, devotee, and Bhagavan, the deity, become one. There is no separation at all. And hence Ramana in the 10th sloka he says, let us read these two. These two are very interesting sloka. 8 and 9. Bheda bhavanat sohamityasau bhavanabhida pavani mata. So you can underline that saha aham idi. Saha aham, that's the key word. Saha aham. In the 8th, saha aham. Saha aham. Saha means he. Aham means I. I am he. Who? Who is that he? We have already explained. So saha aham, please underline that. And then abhida bhavana, please underline that. These two ideas. Abhida bhavana and saha aham. Now next 9th. Sadbhava sustidhi. That's a word you have to. Sadbhava sustidhi. Sustidhi means firm abidance. Sadbhave. And it's a state of bhava shunyata. Bhava shunyata means freedom from effort. No effort at all. It's an effortless state. And then Maharshi explains the definition, gives you the definition of the ultimate state as Hrustale Manaha Swastada. Please underline that also. Hrustale Manaha Swastada. 10th. Hrustale Manaha Swastada. The 3 words. This is the definition of enlightenment. Hrustale Manaha Swastada. Somebody asks you what is enlightenment? Say this. He will get enlightenment and he wants. So say this Sanskrit. Hrustale Manaha Swastada. Hrustale Manaha Swastada. Hrustale Manaha Swastada. Swastada, as you have seen, Swas means Taha, Swastaha, Tasya Bhavam, Swastada. Hruda means the inner core, the center. You know, don't you say that I want to center, I want to center, I want to center. I hear that word all the time. I want to center. Now I am off the center, I am eccentric and all that. So you want to center all the time. So the word for center is Hruda. Is it not that a better word? Hrud, your heart. Rather than using a center. Your heart. Abiding in your heart. So now Maharshi takes another route. Because he already reached the summit. So he has reached Everest from the Nepal side. Now he wants to reach Everest from the Chinese side. Why not? It's enjoyable. The whole exercise is enjoyable. You want to come from the other side, this side. So here he takes the route of yoga, Raja Yoga. Asana, pranayama, etc. So asana is understood. Asana is an ability to sit physically stable and quiet for 45 minutes. But he doesn't deal with that. He takes the pranayama. Asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyanam, samadhi. Of those steps, asana and yama, niyama, that also he has. Because by the time you reach here, I don't have to preach you yama, niyamas. You are supposed to know that. Yama, niyama means ethical and moral discipline.